Spurge here, and in this video we are going to break down the new Dainese Carbon 4 glove. So the Carbon 4s from Dainese are available in both a long cuff, a gauntlet version, which I'm wearing, as well as a short cuff version. We're going to break down the main differences between the two. For the most part, these gloves are identical, except for the fact that one has a full gauntlet design. The short cuffs also have a different material in the palm. They get an mica suede, and the short cuffs get touchscreen technology at the fingertips. The long full cuffs do not, which is something that I would have loved to have seen. We'll get into all that in the specifics of the video. The long gauntlet versions are coming in around $210, which means that there's a $30 increase over the previous versions, and then the short cuffs are coming in around the $180 mark with a $20 increase over the previous versions there. Now, I do have a previous version of the glove with us so that we can take a closer look at it. If you're just looking at the glove as it sits, it really looks darn near identical. However, when you try them on, you're going to notice some changes in how they feel. So from a fitment standpoint, sizes remain the same, extra small up to a 3XL. I am wearing a 2XL. I'm typically a 2XL in Dainese. I was a 2XL in the previous Carbon 3s. What I will say to you is that when I measure my hand measures at 9.5 inches around the palm, the way Dainese tells me to measure it. According to their size chart, I should be in an extra large. I'm actually in a 2XL and it fits me spot on. So just something to note, if you're using the size chart, you're probably going to want to size up one full size. Variety of different colors available for the full cuff as well as for the short cuff version of this. And the main materials that you're going to see from a construction standpoint: goatskin leather in the palm for the long version, the gauntlet version, and then sheepskin at the back. Sheepskin is very similar to cowhide, thicker leather, a little bit cheaper leather, and then when you get into the palm, that's where you get your goatskin for that thinner, more tactile feedback kind of a feel to what you're looking for in the palm of a glove. So you really want to see that goatskin or that thinner leather material in the palm of the glove. Now, what I will say is that when I first put this on, back to back with the previous version, it felt different. It felt snugger, it felt more stiff, it didn't feel as broken in. So we started kind of playing around with it. They definitely slimmed up the fingers on this, which I really liked. The previous version, the fingers were just way too much room in the fingers, way too bulky. But that wasn't what was making it harder to open and close, and you kind of lose some of that tactile sensation. Really, it's the redesigned knuckles, and I'm going to hold this up so you can kind of see it right there. There's definitely more of a contour to the new knuckle, and typically that's something that we would want to see. The way that you contour the knuckle compared to the previous version, which was really flat, should add more comfort and should add a little bit more of a pre-cursed angle into the glove itself. However, you kind of feel like you're fighting that knuckle as you're going to, pull in the clutch or pull back on the brake. So I'm hoping that this glove will break in, but it definitely does not feel as comfortable straight out of the box as the previous version does. And that's something that, like I said, if you're just looking at these gloves side by side, you're not going to notice that, but it is a distinct difference. And really, as I'm looking at the two gloves side by side, it's really just the fact that they narrowed the fingers down, which I think is a positive. Too much room in the old glove. But with this new kind of contoured knuckle to it, it definitely stiffens up the overall feel of the glove itself. The other thing to note, and I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this in the camera angle, but the leather of the previous version has a much higher quality hand to it. Very smooth, very supple to the leather. The leather that's being used in the new glove, I don't know if Dainese changed factories or what the deal is here, but it definitely doesn't have the same kind of hand and quality feel to the leather that we're seeing with the previous version. The other note here too is just a little bit of a flourish of style. You can kind of see right here on the cuff, they've added these accent lines in, purely a style play. Nothing different there from a protection standpoint. So as you're working your way down the back of the hand, a little bit of elastication at the wrist with this, that's not changed. And then as you work your way down, you're going to have accordion stretch at the back of your first 3 fingers. extra bits of protection on the back of the hand, and then you're getting into a little bit of the DCP protection over on the pinky. Now, if you're looking at this Carbon 4 and you're thinking, well, really, where does this glove come into play within Dainese line? This is a full gauntlet street glove that will get you to the track. If you really want to bump up into something that's a bit more track focused from a protection standpoint and from a design standpoint, you'd be looking at something like the Druid 4s. If you want something that's a bit more street focused, maybe a bit more comfort focused, you could step down to something like the Impeto. The Impeto has a split knuckle design, and it's not quite the more racy kind of a look and style to what we're seeing out of these Carbon 4s. So if you want to bump up, it's a Druid 4. If you want to step down, it is the Impeto. Now, as we take a look at the inside of the palm on this, again, not much has changed over the previous version. The one thing that I like is that they've lost the Amica suede on the index finger and down to the pinky. It's now a full leather construction all throughout the hand, and it's that goat skin all the way down. No touchscreen fingertip here, and I think the rationale there is like, oh, if you're using this on a track bike, you don't need the touchscreen fingertip. But this is a glove that I really see a lot of people using, both in the racetrack as well as just ultimate protection on the street. I think adding in the touchscreen fingertip technology to this would have been a solid win, and I would love to see that added to this glove in the future. Very rudimentary palm sliders, just a big TPU palm slider right here. Nothing really changes over this. The one thing I'll note is that this does tend to be a little bit bulky when you're just riding it all day on the street, but it does serve its purpose if you were to go down in a crash. Dual closure at the wrist on this, and if we're taking a look at the short cuff version, which is right here, and you can also see it in these variety of colors over to my right. Like I said earlier, the biggest difference is if you're going with the short cuff, it's an Amica suede palm, so you're losing all the goat skin in the palm, and you are getting the touchscreen fingertip. Now, the one call out here is that I do wish that this would have been full goat skin leather as well in the palm for the short cuff version. Keep in mind that whenever you're using a synthetic leather, it's not going to break in the same way. So even as I was talking about how these gloves felt a little bit stiffer than the previous version, even just wearing them right now, they kind of start to automatically just loosen up as that leather stretches and breaks in. And I would imagine, after a few hundred miles on the bike, it's going to really kind of have a comfortable feel to it. Whereas the Amica suede, you need to make sure that these gloves fit you perfectly right out of the box, because it's not going to give you the same break-in. So I would have loved to have seen just that same quality goat skin leather carried throughout the palm on the short cuff version of these as well. But again, price difference around the $210 mark for the full gauntlet ones on these, and then around $180 for the short cuff. So $30 increase for the fulls, and then about a $20 increase here. And keep in mind, we do have that price match guarantee, and both of these gloves will ship for free. So there you have it. If you are, again, looking side by side, they look identical, but there's some key changes to the fit and the feel. Like the fact that the fingers are a bit slimmer here. Jury's still out on the contour and why this is making it feel like it's more bulky and harder to use the glove right out of the box. So if you're somebody that's used the Carbon 4s in the past, you'll probably notice that right away. They don't feel as broken in right out of the box as the previous ones did. But there's a lot of folks out there using the Carbon 4 gloves on their rides, and if you want to hear more about what they have to say, you can click the info button on your desktop or mobile device. You can read other rider reviews from folks that are out there putting the Dainese Carbon 4 gloves, either the long version or the short version, through its paces. And if you're still not sure as to which gloves are right for you, you can always reach out to one of our customer service reps. They can walk you through all the different gloves available for your style of riding as well as your budget. I want to thank you for joining us today for this first look at the Dainese Carbon 4 gloves. I'm Spurge. Enjoy the ride.